Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take some complex sources, really dig in, and pull out the key insights for you. Maybe even find a few surprises along the way. Today, we're tackling, well, what seems like a heavy topic, but it's actually got this fascinating paradox at its heart. It's about endings, especially death, and how they aren't just, well, the end. They're actually vital for making life meaningful. Our material is drawn from excerpts of The Grace of Ending, Life, Death, and Meaning, and our mission to pull out some really profound ideas about mortality, why things being temporary actually adds value, and, what really makes for a happy life. And it's not just about us humans. We'll touch on how this affects creative stuff, even big organizations. It might give you a whole new angle on things. Okay, let's unpack this. So right off the bat, this source challenges a huge assumption that death is life's opposite. It argues, no, it's the natural conclusion. When you first hit that idea, death as part of life, not against it, how did that land with you?
It is pretty striking, isn't it? The source draws this really sharp contrast. It sets life against something it calls the machine. And the machine here isn't literal. It's more like a metaphor for this cold mechanical drive for just endless continuation, efficiency over spirit, over nature.
Ah, okay.
So in the view, death isn't the enemy. It's framed more like an old friend, to the Harry Potter echo.
Yeah.
Something that's just inevitable, sure, but also essential. And the core argument, which is really powerful, is that without death, life could become just, endless, maybe even unbearable. Think about it like a story that never ends. It just sort of drifts. Death is like the full stop, the period at the end of the sentence. It gives everything before its real weight, real purpose. That limited time we have, that's what fuels the urgency, the meaning in our relationships, our achievements. Without it, the source suggests life loses its drive, maybe even its point.
The period at the end of life sentence. I like that. It flips the script, doesn't it? From loss to like a necessary ingredient for significance. And that leads us into some pretty deep philosophical waters. What the source brings up next is really fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. It brings up that story from Nietzsche, the one about King Midas meeting the demon Silenus.
Vaguely.
Where Silenus says the best thing is to never have been born at all, and the second best, to die very soon.
Pretty grim stuff.
It is. And in Nietzsche, it often taps into this like ancient fatalism about suffering being inherent in just existing. But here's the key thing. The speaker in our source completely rejects that view, flat out.
Okay.
They argue really strongly that life is wonderful, even with death as part of the deal. And they bring in Mary Midgley to back this up. Her point is that a life that never ceased would be, well, she calls it unsettling.
Unsettling. Huh. What do you make of that? Does that resonate? Does endless existence feel unsettling to you?
It really does give you pause, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's that be careful what you wish for thing, maybe. We always want more time, but endless time. It does sound, well, maybe directionless, almost hollow. It makes you think that limits, finitude, maybe they're actually a kind of gift.
Exactly.
And the source says this isn't just about our individual lives, right? This idea of transience, of things having an end, adds value elsewhere, too.
Absolutely. It draws on ideas from Japanese aesthetics like wabi-sabi, which finds beauty precisely in impermanence and imperfection. It argues that the fleeting nature of something often enhances its beauty, its value. And the source gives some great examples. Think about, say, Breaking Bad.
Great show.
Right. It had a definite ending planned by the creator. It didn't just drag on forever for money like some shows do, losing their punch. That strong ending cemented its legacy. Or consider companies. The source mentions Apple after Steve Jobs. The argument is that sometimes when the focus shifts purely to endless growth, just keeping the machine running, the original soul or purpose gets lost.
That makes sense.
So the general idea is that projects, art, maybe even institutions, they gain something important by having a clear, intentional end. It lets them fulfill their purpose and then conclude gracefully, makes a stronger mark. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
What books or films or pieces of art do you love that had really powerful endings? And how did that ending shape how you feel about them?
Yeah, it definitely does. Speaking of endings, the source shares this really lovely human detail. The author talks about their own funeral music choices.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of brings these big ideas down to earth. They mentioned Bach's St. Matthew Passion and Pete Seeger's Turn, sung by Judy Collins. Quite the mix.
Wow, that's specific and really personal, but
Yeah.
it actually loops back beautifully to the main theme, doesn't it?
Well, choosing turn
Yeah.
to everything, there is a season that directly reinforces this whole idea of life being cyclical. Each stage, each phase has its time. Birth, growth, decline, ending. It's all part of a natural rhythm. It makes the idea of natural endings feel less like a tragedy and more like, well, part of the beauty of the cycle.
That's a really nice connection. So, okay, if death is part of life's meaning and endings are valuable, what does this mean for actually living a happy life? Knowing all this, the source pulls in Carl Jung here.
Right, Jung's perspective is brought in, listing his 5 key ingredients for a happy life. Let's see. Good physical and mental health, that's 1. Strong personal relationships. 2, being able to appreciate beauty in art and nature. 3, then a reasonable standard of living and work you find satisfying. 4, and finally, number 5, having some kind of philosophical or religious view to help navigate, life's difficulties.
Okay, that's quite a list.
It is. But then the speaker in our source does something really interesting. They condense all of that down. Yeah, basically into 3 core relationships. That's it.
3, what are they?
First, our relationship with other people, connection. Second, our relationship with the natural world, our place in it. And third, our relationship with the sacred or the divine. And the source stresses this is seen as something real, not just like a psychological coping mechanism.
Wow. Just 3. People, nature, and the sacred. Why those 3 specifically, do you think? Why are they presented as the absolute core?
Well, the implication seems to be that these 3 connections are truly fundamental. They touch the deepest parts of our human experience, our need for community and love, our grounding in the physical world, and our search for meaning beyond the everyday. It's almost like if you nurture these 3, really focus on maybe the other elements Jung mentioned, like satisfaction in work or coping with hardship, sort of naturally follow or become easier to manage.
That's powerful. It makes you pause and think, okay, which of these am I really tending to in my own life?
Exactly. It's a great point for reflection.
So let's dig into that third one a bit more, the relationship with the sacred or divine. That can be tricky territory, right? The source talks about listening to the divine. How does it suggest we do that? Especially when it's hard to know if an inner feeling is, genuine guidance or just our own wishful thinking or maybe even something unhelpful.
That's a really important question, and the source tackles it head on. It clarifies that it's not about listening for, like, actual words or a booming voice from the clouds.
Okay, good.
Instead, it suggests listening for a feeling, a deep resonance in the heart, like a sense of, yes, this feels true, that goes beyond just intellectual agreement. It's more intuitive, more embodied.
A feeling in the heart. Okay.
Yeah. And this connects directly to how the source redefines faith. It argues faith isn't about having certainty. It's not about having concrete proof.
Right.
It's about fidelity.
Fidelity, meaning?
Meaning commitment. Loyalty. A deep, sustained trust in something you sense is higher or truer than just your everyday self. It's holding fast to that inner resonance, that feeling, even when things are uncertain.
Faith as fidelity, not certainty. That really shifts the perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
It makes faith less about knowing all the answers and more about staying true to the search, to that inner sense. It definitely changes how you might approach your own big questions, less pressure for proof, maybe more focus on consistent commitment.
Precisely.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered some really big ideas. We started with death, not as the opposite of life, but as its partner in creating meaning. We saw how intentional endings in life, in art, in projects, actually make things more valuable, more impactful.
Right. The Breaking Bad principle, you could call it.
Exactly. And then we drilled down into what makes a happy life, finding those 3 core relationships. Connection with people, with nature, and with the sacred.
Yeah, that distillation was powerful.
And finally, reframing faith as fidelity, as commitment, rather than demanding certainty.
So if we take all that wisdom from the source, embracing that things are temporary, that they end, whether it's life itself or a project we're working on, seems key to really appreciating them. Which leads to, I think, a really provocative thought for you, the listener, to take away.
Okay.
If consciously cultivating endings, embracing transience, is actually vital for meaning and beauty, how might intentionally bringing that sense of graceful conclusion into different areas of your own life actually lead to, well, maybe deeper satisfaction, maybe a stronger sense of purpose?
That's a fantastic question to ponder. Applying the grace of ending not just to life's end, but throughout life itself. Lots to think about there. We really hope this deep dive gave you some fresh perspective on endings, and maybe even on living.